Alright, welcome to another Introscope video session. Today we're going to be going over strings and outputs. So before we begin, let's go over a previous topic, which is variables. And we're going to go over how to assign a new value to a variable. So let's say that we initialized the variable beef to I like pie. Now, at any point, if you wanted to change the value of this string named beef, you're able to by first, obviously, declaring and initializing the string, and then you're going to write beef equals I like ties or whatever you want. And then basically you're going to write the name of the variable right here, which is beef, and assign the new value I like ties. And this will work for any data type as well, so keep in mind this can work with integers, with doubles, with booleans, with characters, and so on. So for example, if you wanted to reassign the value of number, which is initialized initially to 5, then you would write number equals 4. And the reason that assigning a new value to a variable is very useful is because in Java you're constantly going to have the need to change or assign a new value to a variable each time, because things will happen. Different programs will require that you assign a new value to a specific variable. So this will be very helpful, and that you should really memorize how to assign the new value. You just write the name of the variable and assign a new value to it, and it'll work with any data type. This is a preview of strings, and by the end of this video you'll know what all of this means. So I would first recommend looking at it and just trying to see. You will not get it immediately, but I'll give you a few moments to just look over it, and then we will begin dissecting basically what each of these things are. So strings. Strings are pieces, they're simply pieces of text used to store sequences of letters or words in sentences. So they're pieces of text that allow you to display output or any other things, including letters or characters. So you would use quotation marks to output strings. Anytime you're wanting to output a string or a piece of text, you're going to use quotation marks around it. And keep in mind, this is a non-primitive data type, which we will go over what that exactly means. But for now, just know that they are not one of the primitive data types that we went over, but it's still a data type. They're not part of the primitive data type, which includes integers, doubles, booleans, and characters. So what are examples of strings? Strings can, as long as you see the quotation marks, that will pretty much indicate strings. So if let's say we have the variable intro, and we declared it to be a string, and you wanted to equal the value fun, then you would put quotation marks around the word fun and then initialize intro to fun, and so on with grays and unknown. In unknown, keep in mind, you can initialize a string excuse me, to just a quotation mark. And this will be very useful later when you don't necessarily know the value of the string, but as I said before, you will reassign a new value to the string unknown later somewhere in the code. Now, how do you display output? There's 3 different ways to display output that we're going to use in Java, and they're primarily used. The 3 common methods for displaying output used in Java are system.out.println, system.out.print, and system.out.printf. And we're going to go over all 3 of them very shortly. And I would recommend, you will see this very often in, as long as you want to display text, you're going to use any of these 3. And we're just going to go over what each of these 3 are, beginning with system.out.println. Now, system.out.println, it may look a little fuzzy, but basically what you need to know is that it's one of the most useful and commonly used methods, and it allows you to display output to the compiler in compiler. So it'll allow you to display output containing a string. So inside this parentheses, you would basically put a string. And for system.out.println, what makes it very unique is that any future output statements immediately go to the next line. And what do I mean by this is, for example, if I had system.out.println, and I put in the string hello world inside of the parentheses, and then I put system.out.print, which is what we're going to go over next. I got skipped to the next line. Then the output would be hello world right here. This should be lowercase, sorry. That was my fault. And as you can see here, it got skipped, everything else got skipped right next to the next line. So whenever you have system.out.println, any statements beneath that will get skipped to the next line. So any output statements. So if this was a system.out.println, I got skipped to the next line, system.out.print, system.out.printf, it'll all get skipped to the next line. And this is very useful when you want to go to the next line, which in that case you would always use system.out.println. And a great way to memorize this is line, next line, so you know that system.out.println would be the method that allows you to skip to the next line. Now system.out.print is different from system.out.println in that any future output statements will not go to the next line. So what do I mean by this? Let's say we have system.out.print hello world like we did last time. And note that we have the space after the word world, which allows you to output this space right here, and this is going to be very useful anytime you want to have a space between different sentences and different variables. You would always basically put this extra space here to create or output a space. And then you have the line system.out.print. I got skipped to the next line. Whereas before this line got skipped to the next line, this line, it still stays on the same line, and this is the unique feature of system.out.print, in that any other statements after it will still go on the same line. So let's say I had I like beef or something, then hello world would, after that, it would be I like beef if this was system.out.print. Now the last one we're going to go over is system.out.printf. Basically what you need to know about it is it's the third method that's not as commonly used as system.out.println or system.out.print, just print, but it's very useful in that it allows you to format strings with flag tags, what we call flag tags. And we'll go over this later in the later topics, but flags are basically things that allow you to, let's say I want to round. You would put the percent sign and then put 0.2f or 0.3f. And I know it sounds very bizarre right now, but in the meantime, you just need to know and be aware that there's a third method called system.out.printf, and it also uses commas instead of plus signs, which we'll go over what that really means in the later topics. Now, most importantly, how do we output this text when it comes to the methods system.out.println or system.out.printf, or any of these methods in general? So what you want to do is you want to declare and initialize all your variables that you want to use. So let's say I initialize the variable John, an integer, to 5, and I initialized child, which is a string, to I like crayons. Then I would write system.out.print or system.out.println, depending on what you want to do. If you want to skip to the next line, for this one, I'm just going to stay on the same line, which in that case I would use system.out.print. And then the third step you would want to do is fill in the parentheses of the method with the string line that you want to do using quotation marks. So in this case, system.out.print, my age is in quotation marks. The fourth step, you would use a plus sign to separate any strings with variables. So let's say system.out.print, my age is, let's say my age is 5, and I wanted to use the variable John, which was declared right here. Instead of writing 5 each time, what's useful is I can reuse the variable John, because in Java you're going to find yourself repeatedly trying to use the same thing. And variables are a great way for you to, as a means to do that without having to repeatedly write 5, 5, 5, and so on. So my age is, then the plus sign plus the variable John, and then another plus sign because you have another variable, string that you want to add to the output in quotation marks, and plus child, which is another variable, another string variable. I like crayons, and put child. And then finally, you would add a semicolon to any statements in Java, and you would pretty much use a semicolon after any completed statement. And the period here is really optional, and then you're done. So the final output would be my age is 5 and I like crayons. So note that if we were to put anything after this line right here, let's say I had system.out.println line, the crayons cost $5 or something like that, then it'll still remain on the same line. Why? Because we use system.out.print instead of system.out.println. But if it was system.out.println, you can pretty much guess that it will skip to the next line indeed. So yeah, that's pretty much it about strings. I hope you had a good time reviewing over strings. Make sure to visit our practice page to ensure your understanding of strings. We'll have that link in the description, and we hope that you learned a lot. And yeah.